Hey guys, and welcome to another VOD review. We're going to be watching the banger of a match that was the San Francisco Shock taking on the Los Angeles Gladiators. Sadiators, dun dun, Sadiators, dun dun, part 3227, dun dun, Sadiators. They're in full effect. They're in full effect. The Gladiators look good, as they always have been throughout this season. They are leaning heavily onto that Winston style of playing the game. They look solid. They obviously have the individual players to pull it off. San Francisco Shock, though, on the other hand, are equally as talented. And this is the first time we saw the San Francisco Shock get challenged. We actually saw the LA Gladiators play the Dallas Fuel the week before, and they actually got challenged there and got reverse swept there as well. So the Gladiators are a great team. They can compete with the best in the league. They are just struggling with, and this has been true since the beginning of time for the Gladiators, they choke when it matters most. When they get close enough to start getting victory, somehow they drop the spaghetti. I think this was less of the Gladiators dropping the spaghetti and more of the San Francisco Shock leveling up. And I think it's an interesting match to talk about, like, the individual players, because it was honestly a banger of a match. I think Patty Fan came in to play the Soldier. Patty Fan's still struggling, I think, a little bit to at least to play at the caliber of the highest level. Great player, just hasn't really shown consistent performances within the league when they matter. While on the other hand, we have the San Francisco Shock, and this is a team that has 83% rookies. They have 6 players, and 5 of them are rookies in the league, and they are popping off. Specifically, Proper and Finn have been absolutely dominant so far throughout this season. Proper, it was rumored and confirmed that Proper actually had food poisoning or was like very sick in the lead up and on the day of the match, so he didn't play. They're saying that, like, it was great that they won, considering that he overcame that. There is some weird things from the San Francisco Shock that I'm going to talk about throughout this series as they happen, so I'm not going to speak to them right now. But I also really like how the San Francisco Shock have been using their subbing strategy. We see Kilo and Proper in to start this match. They bring in Sam whenever they want to play, like, the Genji or the Echo. We actually see him in map 5, and I'll talk about that when we get to map 5. But overall, Kalusia's been really good, been absolutely crushing it on the Winston so far from what we've seen. And Finn, as I said before, just bonkers. And Violet's Lucio has actually looked pretty good. It hasn't... I would say Funny Astro has a better match than Violet in this one. But Violet's, you know, it's definitely serviceable for the highest level. And I don't think that's a problem. And I think he gives them a lot of structure, a lot of veteran experience. And I think Violet's only going to improve. So... Proper had a Jordan flu game. The reason I don't want to call Proper had a Jordan flu game is, you know, I've seen a lot of people saying that, like, Proper had his Jordan flu game. Proper didn't dominate this series, right? He was good, but I think there were other people on the team that stepped up. Proper didn't have that, like, crazy performance. You know, obviously we hold him on a high pedestal, but I think Kilo had a better series than Proper did. In this match, and I think Finn was dominant. Like, Finn absolutely having MVP levels of performance. So Proper was solid, but definitely I don't think took over the game as we would have hoped. So Custa dissed him pretty well in the first 2 maps, and yeah, you know, like, it needs to be talked about when we talk about the Gladiators. Like, some people like to be like, oh, maybe Kevsta's overrated. I think when we talk about the best DPS players in the league, you know, we talk about, you know, your Lips, your Prophets, and now your Propers. And I think Kevsta gets slighted by a lot of people of, like, he really needs to start entering that conversation because he's just so talented. The one thing I will say that I noticed consistently from Kevsta in this series, he did not have good pulse bombs. Like, I don't know how many pulse bombs he threw by the wayside. He, in this day and age of 2022, where Tracer players are just leveling up, and we're seeing pulse bomb attach rates of like 50% plus, Kevsta was nowhere close to that benchmark. He had some good ones, but he threw some away. And that's something that I would like to see him, I guess, sort of like work on. But yeah. Square's pulse bombs are crazy. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm losing it from what I remember watching. But I remember, like, actively taking a mental note of, like, man, Kevsta just missed and missed and missed with these pulse bombs. So I don't know. Some people like to say that he like absolutely dominated. I didn't see as much dominance as some people said in the server. So maybe we'll prove me wrong when we watch this match back again. Problem this is quite a lot too. I don't know about Kev though. Yeah. So we'll see. Let's talk about it, right? Like we got it on our radar at this point. Yo, Wild Person, thank you very much for 6 months. Because I no longer bet on the Gladiators. Thank you very much. Milky Mercy, thank you for the gifted sub. Mr. Max with 3. Do you think these back-to-back reverse sweeps will boom the Glads? Looking at Shu and Funny Astro, they look beyond destroyed? Nah. If anything, I think it just lights a fire under their asses. I don't think this is a team that is going to just like crumble under this kind of mistakes. It's definitely going to be a mental block that they need to get over though, right? Like, no Dio, no win. Oh God. So this is actually worth talking about. The San Francisco Shock came out on this look of, they both played the Doomfist, which was interesting because we haven't seen the Doomfist from both of these teams. But even more interesting, San Francisco Shock are playing this Moira. And I understand the idea of the Moira, that you're like more self-sustainable and you have more throughput, but I like the Ana. And if you're going to stay together where your team can peel, I don't know if I love it. I feel like the anti-nades from the Ana are just way more impactful, and the sleeps are way more impactful. They won map 5 with Ana though? Yeah, but like, just because you win one time doesn't discredit the point, right? Like, so San Francisco Shock lose it in the first round and then they win it in the second round. Whenever anyone says, oh, you know, this is not good, doesn't mean it's unwinnable with it. Like, they're still great teams and they're still great players. It's more, oh, it's a 40% chance to win than a 60% chance to win if they both play equally with this meta change, right? Like, doesn't mean it's unwinnable. I just think it's not as it's just not as good overall. Funny Astro! When are the pre-game desk kits coming back an hour? I miss those. I think I'll answer that here. The biggest problem with the skits is we do not have as many resources as we did to like produce things as we did in the past. Hex is the only producer that we currently have working for the desk on the league, so that's including run of show of each desk segment, all that kind of stuff. Last year, Hex, we had someone else doing the like run of show and all that kind of stuff, and Hex was doing a lot of that skits. That's what he was spending his time producing those segments. So as much as we'd love to, we don't really have the bandwidth. Custa, you going to review any Washington games? Yes, we're going to watch Washington Boston later in the week. All right, so Gladiators win this first fight and sort of extended with that aggression just there, with the beat in the visor. So Shock also lost the Cole in that. So we'll see. That would have been a sick net. I remember seeing that. Dude, look at this Funny Astro steal. I remember seeing this. Look at Funny Astro. That is fucking so troll. Look at this. Fucking Funny Astro, dude. What is he even doing down here? What are we doing here? Oh my god, Violet also almost lost his beat for that. Mine now. Funny Astro actually has so many final blows right now. How'd that even hit him? Like, it doesn't look like it would hit him, but because of like how the input lag works of the nano, it actually makes sense. Oh, tragic for Paddy Fan. Week 3 plat chat vid? What do you mean plat chat vid? They're for people that are not aware, plat chat is actually going to be doing their it's actually going to be done live, and I believe it's happening tomorrow at like 10 a.m. or something like that. So they're going to be done live on Twitch and YouTube, I believe now. Interesting pulse bomb by Proper. And I will be on the show tomorrow. Dude, Kevs is just rolling them right now. Why do we never see nano pro players use nano confirmation? It seems like it exists to prevent that exact scenario from happening. Funnily enough, I've seen more people using the nano confirmation this season than I've ever seen it used before. There is a couple of players that use it. I believe Iris runs it. And there's someone else who's been running it recently because you notice it in the spectator. And for me, like the reason I don't use it is because it's Iris. Fuck. Is because it's clunky. Like I've been playing this game since Anna came out. It just feels clunky to use now, so it's like old habits die hard.
Both teams now moving over towards the Winston. It feels like both Gladiators and Shock have a very similar read.
Maybe it's Twilight, yeah. Can we hear your thoughts on Violet throughout this series? Yeah, absolutely. Like I think Violet, as I said like earlier, I think Funny Astro gets way more impact in terms of final blows and stuff like that. But the thing that I actually notice a lot from when we watch these matches, good dive on the shoe. The thing that we actually notice a lot in this series is Violet doesn't make as many big plays, but I think he peels for Finn really well. Like he really does a great job of peeling for Finn. It feels like that understanding of knowing how to play flex support and the resources that are required for the flex support. I feel like I notice that more often. The beat timings, the windows, the protection. I feel like you actually see that a lot. Yo, Emon with the fatty hose. What is up, party people? We're watching the Gladiators versus Shock as we speak. Not seeing space in the lineup is weird. Yeah, but it makes sense, right? Like they're leaning very heavily into the Winston. And I think, you know, that's the reason Reiner's on this team. Dude, the Gladiators have not been able to get anything close to going. Well, I did notice in the Killer plays a lot on the back line than Paddy did. Paddy went for flanks more than Killer. Yeah, but I think Killer's Soldier impressed me a lot this weekend. Like, he just puts in so much damage, and it feels like he very rarely gets punished. He's just always just working and pumping. She got picked so many times. It's because of like how good the dive is, I think, from Proper and Kaluge. Like, you need to give credit to Proper and Kaluge on that. Like, it feels like Shu's out here fighting for his life in all moments. And it also goes back to, like, look at this prime example, right? We just saw Kaluge and Proper dive. Great synergy. Where's Funny Astro? And, like, Funny Astro comes in eventually, but it's too late, right? I don't know where Funny Astro was at the beginning of that, and it feels like that is a big difference we saw between the two synergistic styles of Violet and Funny Astro Lucio. Funny Astro is going for a lot more plays and I think assisting the dive a lot more, while Violet is very protective and like supportive. And you see the benefits of both of those different styles, but you know, Shu's out here fighting for his life a lot of the times. And Shu hits some crazy sleeps to keep himself alive in this series, but it felt like if he ever missed that sleep, it was over. Do you think that Lucio does pill bodyguard better than Brig nowadays? No, Brig is still the best bodyguard support in the game. The value of the Lucio is that you have the speed boost, right? Like, you have extra utility on top of being the bodyguard. And you have the ability to go aggressive in certain scenarios. Something that Brig can't really do unless you have, like, Rally. That was a massive over-aggression by Kaluge there. Like, I don't know why Kaluge went this deep. I think maybe he was hoping... Maybe with Kilo getting slept, they didn't have that like damage support. But this is a really smart nano by Shu. Recognizing that if they get that kill and they go aggressive, then they're going to get to a good spot. Now all of a sudden, like, Shock are just in trouble. That was a great survival by Violet there. Kilo gets Shu again, though. That's a bad death. I think Rally is a better ultimate than the beat as well. Funny Astro goes down. So this is a great counter disengage by the San Francisco Shock. And this was like, it was so hard. What was this? We watched Gladiators versus Shock. What was the match after Gladiators Shock? Like, there was so much synergy and coordination and cooling and cohesion in this Gladiators Shock match. And then we watched Vancouver. Was it Vancouver Boston? Toronto versus Boston. Dude, that game was like, I thought I went from watching a GM game to watching like Silvers run around in quick play. Like, that's what it felt like. It actually hurt my brain. It like reinforced how bad that game of Overwatch was after seeing such a good one from the Gladiators in the Shock. The hotball Winston, yeah.
Friends continue to exchange blows. C9 says Kaluj. I think
Replay viewer would have been nice. I hope something happens and we get the replay viewer. I wouldn't hold your breath for it, but it would definitely be really nice to have this replay viewer. Maybe I'll ask in the Discord. I'll ping someone just to see if I can get a response.
If Proper misses the pulse bomb, it's generally close enough that it's going to force movement away from the area where that pulse bomb is, obviously.
Because I don't know, like, I feel like we're aware that the teams have access to it, so like, is it really that hard of a lift to give it to the public? Like, it obviously exists in some capacity. Maybe it's not fully fleshed out already. I don't know, but. Dude, look at how big that nade was, by the way. It's a giga nade by Finn at the beginning. And that gives, look at how much space they get just from that nade. All of a sudden, the Gladiators are locked into that room. That was a good dive by Kevster and Reiner, though. Gets Finn. That's you take that trade 100% of the time. Surely they can give it to the Custa and analyst. Yeah, but like they probably could give it to the Custa's analyst, but I wouldn't be able to stream it if they gave it to me anyway, right? Because that I don't think they would allow me to do that. As much as I wish I could. But do you have an opinion on teams TPing out of spawn? I don't have a problem with it. Johnny obviously takes it very personally. Like, I understand where he's coming from. If it's like, it's a really stupid thing to have in the game, but it's faster. So I understand why teams do it, right? If it's going to get you to point faster, then it matters. Especially when you have a soldier who can just rush to the point and join it evenly. A hot take from Liz. A lot of proper success is due to Finn's healing or nades. Thus, I think Finn is the real Rookie of the Year candidate. There, I said it. I don't think that's unrealistic. I think Finn has been offering a lot and gives proper a lot of space, you know? Like, I agree. It's only a few weeks in. I would say right now, for me, in my brain, they're neck and neck. They're neck and neck, and I want to see more from the season, and I want to see more flexibility from both of them. Because from Proper, we've only really seen him play a lot of Tracer Soldier. You know, there was a little bit of Genji, a little bit of Echo, but... And we've only seen Finn play Ana. Oh, I guess Moira. But... Good rotation. Pulse Bomb goes by the wayside. Good beat. Good visor. Good coordination. They get Shu, but like that was Shu lived for a really long time, and that was like Gladiators did that with only the nano. That was beat visor, and Gladiators lived that with only the nano. So great play by Shu.
Maybe to the detriment of Shock, to be honest, Lemon. She was getting dove so hard that Sanfran often put themselves into compromised positions in order to actually get that line of sight. However, it is still feeling pretty good if you're a Shock fan. 70% of the cap here on City Center has been gained, but remember that taking back this point is actually incredibly difficult because of that central pavilion providing a lot of physical cover to kite around when you're in.
We got the nano from Finn. And so Shock need to win I'm kind of curious to see how they use this. Oh, sleep by collusion. Dude, the Winston's got slept so much in this series. That's just like, I don't even think that's a thing against the Winstons. I literally just think it's how good the flexible. So, oh my god. Patty got a little ambitious there. Dude, Killer just gets nanoed and just one-taps him with the Helix. That was a great play by the Shock. Like, you can't, like, I think this is something that a lot of other, like, weaker teams do as well. They just try and run from the visor, which is not a bad play, but at some points, like, if they tried to run from that, they would have lost one, maybe two people if they decided to run from Patty Fan. At some point, the best thing you can do to a visor, especially if it's not nanoed, is to just go counter-aggressive into it. And we see a lot of teams do that. With like they just bio-nade, the Ana just runs at them, bio-nades, shoots asleep, and hope for gold, right?
And for San Francisco Shock, that is bad news bad, because they aren't going to have a real playmaking potential until at least overtime. Kilo needs to spam away very hard here to try and get access to that visor, but it will not be bolstered by a nano.
Oh, good pulse. That's such an important pulse bomb by Kevster. Like, the Shock were coming into a good fight. If they got into that fight and it started popping off, they were close to a visor, they were close to a beat. But Kevster just says no, dude. Like, absolutely crazy play by Kevster. Game-winning pulse, yeah. Yeah, clean play. Kevster Tracer is pretty good. Who would have thought? Birthday buff from the Kevin Star. Hell yeah. Alright. When we get to halftime, I'm gonna talk about this. I talked about it earlier in the stream, but we'll talk about it in the VOD review as well. The proper and the kilo switch. I wonder how crazy pre-nerf Tracer was in Overwatch 2. As someone who played the alpha and watched scrims of pre-nerf Tracer, pretty bonkers, because I can talk about it now. So Tracer was supposed to do 5.5 damage per bullet, but there was a bug in the game that was making Tracer do 6 damage per bullet when they were in the alpha. So they actually nerfed it from 6 to 5, and that's why a lot of people stopped playing Tracer, because it felt awful compared to what it felt like. But in the alpha, Tracer was just stupid strong, like unreasonably strong. Because in Overwatch 1, I think Tracer does 5.5 right now. Do you raise the volume of the VOD just a little bit? I got you. Oh, big nade by Shu. So we're gonna get the mirror comps again. No subs for both of these teams. How does damage with floating points even work? I'm pretty sure it carries over. It just doesn't show in the game.
Check out Shu counter rotating here alongside Padapan as well. This is going to be a very difficult area to hit, but that's a lovely Bardic grenade. What a combo from both Finn and Kaluj to chase down Shu, but Kaluj went a touch too far and was punished by...
Alright, so they get Shu, like, honestly, like, Kaluj and, as I said, Kaluj and Proper do such a good job of punishing Shu. But I feel like they invest a lot of resources into punishing Shu. So if Shu does any good job of, like, protecting himself, or, like, the team does a great job of protecting, I feel like Shock are very isolated. Because it feels like Kaluj just... He either gets Shu or he dies doing it. And sometimes it's both. I don't really know who's winning this fight. The Nano and Kaluj is pretty big. Big Nano.
Kaluj and Kilo, for two brand new teammates, were doing a fantastic job there of getting some body blocking done for the more vulnerable Soldier 76.
Why are we in the room? Okay, Liz, I'm gonna defend why people are in the room. If you are a Luciana, you want to be in the room. And then people run into the room to kill you because you're defending yourself in the room. So that's how you end up being in said room. Because the room is safe until it's not safe anymore. And there's a Mega there.
To track piece of movement with a randomized WAS&D in order to move past him there and kept Kilo alive to clutch out that point. So
with Kaluj and Punk looking to be good at Winston, I feel like teams should stop subbing as specialists for Winston. I agree. Like, I think at some point we're going to get to a point where the most valuable tank players are going to be the ones who can play everything. Because I think subbing out tank to tank, depending on the map and like the hero you're playing, is going to hurt them in the long term. It's not bad. Like, you know, if you have Fearless and Hanbin, I don't think you're stressing too much about having to sub Fearless in. But there are certain teams that are showing a very detrimental level of flexibility. Oh, Killer gets punished. Good nade by Shu. Yeah, I don't know why Shock, they all ended up in the room on that one. That felt bad by the Shock. Oh, I'm surprised Kaluj decided to put the Primal into that one. I guess it forces the beat, but I don't think that was ever going to turn. Who's looked more impressive than Finn so far this year? No one. I think Finn has been the best so far this season.
We've seen even a team like London Spitfire hold here for minutes and minutes and minutes, but it's not so quite up close as you'd expect from a Reinhardt like Hardy. Instead, Ryan just wants to command the high ground so they can drop down onto the San Francisco Shock without having to invest a leap. However, that location...
Which team has impressed you the most? I would say either Philly or Shock. Dude, Ryan gets... He just got the primal. You can see in his face. Look at Reiner's face when he doesn't get the primal off. So he gets the primal as he lands, but dies at the same time. Fuck! Don't worry. Kilo. And Kilo is just so good on the soldier. Like, I think he offers so much. And when I tweeted out about like why did they switch Kilo and Proper at halftime on their heroes, like people are like, oh, they want Proper to be on the carry hero soldier. They think he can do more on the soldier. You cannot do more than Kilo was doing. Like I feel like a lot of people disrespect Kilo and be like, Proper just plays everything better than him. I think Kilo is a much better soldier than Proper and is a better hit scan player than Proper. So like I feel like that's what made no sense to me. Is like Kilo is just doing so much work and playing it so well. And I don't think he's ever going to have the performance that Proper does on the Tracer. I don't think Gladiators should have fought this. I think this might have been a bad fight by the Gladiators. Like, I understand that they got the beat out, but they give away so much ult charge to everyone else for that fight. Is the VOD 720p? It should be on HD. No, 1080, 60. Oh, my mouse died as I tried to do that. 1 second.
One of the longest we've seen in Overwatch League thus far, man, because the second point has proven itself one of the most defensible in the game thus far. LA Gladiators now, they have to try and make a concerted effort to control the high ground, and that's why Kevsta's moving up here to try and challenge Kaluj, who has to disengage into Finn's influence.
People like Kevsta diff Proper in these first couple of maps. I don't remember, I don't think Kevsta was diffing Proper in this map. I think Kevsta diffed Proper in the first map, but I feel like Proper was doing a great job in this map. But once again, Kilo having crazy impact. And it needs to also be stated, when you're talking about the impact of someone playing on a hero, you need to think of their counterpart, right? Kilo gets so much space because of how much attention Proper draws on the Tracer. So when you flip that script all of a sudden, Proper on the soldier, Kilo is not drawing as much attention as Proper does on the Tracer. So then inherently it makes it harder for Proper to do anything on soldier as well. So there's like multiple levels of layers of why I didn't like this switch. Kilo said in his post-game interview that the reason he did play the Tracer and they swapped the Tracer and the soldier on this Midtown map. Oh, that's a good sleep by Finn. Oh god, nice fight. Because the coaches asked, the coaches said that on Midtown, Kilo should try playing the Tracer, and apparently it's to get reps and get experience on the map. To me, that Patty Pan goes too aggressive again on the soldier and gets himself punished. I think they should be able to clean up, so it shouldn't be too big of a problem. But yeah, I don't understand that, especially in such a, if you're gonna give Kilo reps on the Tracer, maybe do it against weaker teams and not against the Gladiators. It's a ballsy strategy in my opinion, right? I think San Francisco Shock could have won this map if they had just played, they kept the combo, right? They got it pretty far on Midtown. Kevin Proper had crazy even stats at the end of this match, yeah. Yeah, I actually saw that on Reddit. It was they were very, very similar, in terms of, they had identical final blows and close to the same limbs. Reiner just gets too aggressive there. Oh god, Funny Astro was way too high in the air there. Oh wow, where the hell did Shu even come from? I didn't really change much, but Proper gets got by Kevsta. That's an important 1v1 that Kevsta wins. That is absolutely a important thing. If Kevsta doesn't win that 1v1, they 100% cap here. And yeah, you guys he sticks everyone. That's the third pulse bomb this map so far that he's just thrown by the wayside. And like it wasn't particularly close either. Like I'm not saying Kevster has bad pulse bombs, but like if I'm being nitpicky on Kevster's tracer play, I think it would be the pulse bombs attachment rate that I think he needs to work on. Oh my god, they so almost got there. Do you think there are any solid win conditions against the Titans against Shock or for the Spitfire against guys this week? No. Just play your game and hope it works. That's the only thing you can do. Do not try and win in a situation that you just don't have the players for. I'm actually going to bring this up again, and I'm going to pause at this halftime before I go into the rant about the proper and kilo switch and we talk about that. There was a really interesting interview from Christopher with Yiska where he talked about the important thing that you need to realize, and I don't think a lot of people realize when you're talking about this, these teams are not on an even playing field. They just aren't. The San Francisco Shock and the amount of money that their budget, right? Like let's say how much their total summation of their players they paid their players for is way higher than the London Spitfire. And Christopher said this in this interview. He said, if you saw the budget of our team in comparison, he said even in comparison to Boston and Vancouver Titans, if you saw our budget, you would be impressed that we're exceeding these teams. And you got to think about that when you talk about the league. And I think that's one of my biggest gripes and frustrations about the Overwatch League and the format that it exists right now is you cannot compare the Dallas Fuel and the San Francisco Shock to the London Spitfire and the Paris Eternal. There is a massive difference in the budgets that they have available to buy players, and that's what leads to such massive differences in the skills of these teams. Yes, there are situations in which players exceed their budget or players underperform based on how much they get played, but in general, there is just going to be a bigger difference, and that leads to these massively one-sided games because, as you just said, is there a win condition for the Vancouver Titans against the Shock? It's like, how do you even start game planning for this? We have proper Kilo versus Shockwave Aspire, and as much as those guys have been good, they're not proper in Kilo, right? These guys are absolutely insane, and then it's the supporting staff around that. We got Finn Violet versus Sky Ripper and Masa. Like, it's such a big difference, and as Tilbeans brings up here as well, we're not even bringing in the factor of the amount of coaching resources that they have. How many coaches do they have? What type of resources does the coaching have? The facilities, the team houses, that's something that Shanghai Dragons exceed other teams on by a massive margin, is that like they just have so many more resources to be successful. So you need to keep that in mind when you're talking about these teams, especially when I think a lot of people are very toxic towards the lower end teams and get frustrated at these lower end teams. It's like, not all teams are created equal. It's just the reality, and you need to keep that in mind. So when you're seeing these, and you need to credit these teams and these players when they do exceed expectations, because that is awesome. And you need to slam these higher end teams when they have these crazy budgets and they haven't been able to perform. And I think Gladiators is a prime example of that. It feels like we're really harsh as a league. We're quite harsh to the Los Angeles Gladiators, considering that they've been like top 4, top 5, top 6 every season. But the reason I think a lot of people get frustrated at them is it feels like they've always had the resources. They always have a crazy amount of money, and they've always had the ability to sign what feels like any player they want. And sometimes it feels like they underperform to that expectation. That's why there's some frustration there, right? But Vancouver had a championship team and voluntarily destroyed it, and that's why people don't like the Vancouver Titans, right? Like, not the team, the organization. That's why people don't like them. That's why they don't have fans. Is the same true for the San Francisco Shock? It was last year. Yeah, like they had great players last year and they definitely underperformed to their expectation, but you know, they're 2-time champs. It was leaked or something at one point that Prophet and Gesture making 200k plus on Soul. Yeah. Well, like think about the contract that they signed for the for the London Spitfire after they won the championship. Prophet and Gesture were the best players in the league, considered back then, right? Like, of course they were getting 200k. And then you consider it now, like how much do you think these London Spitfire players are being played? I would be shocked if there was a single player over like 80,000. I would be surprised. And I think most of them would be on minimum.
I think that it all came
And then you compare that to, like, think about, like, how much do you think they're paying Fleta? How much do you think profit is still being paid for the Seoul Dynasty, right? Like, one player is equivalent to, like, 3 of their players. So, and that's why I think, you know, like, I give massive props to the Florida Mayhem. It doesn't feel like, I don't think Florida Mayhem are at the same level as the London Spitfire or the Paris Eternal. It would be really cool to be able to see if it came out of how much each team, like, what team's budget were for the year. That'd be a really interesting discussion to see the amount of budget that they put into the year compared to their final year performance. Like, I think that'd be such a cool thing to see. Obviously, that will never be released because it's not good for the teams, it's not good for the players. It'd be cool as a public thing to see, but there's a reason that that stuff doesn't happen. But yeah, if salaries were public, I think it would be a very interesting, it'd be a very interesting discussion that would be talked about.
I'm pretty sure that's the case, but either way, we'll see how this different look helps. Gladiators, maybe, or the Shock setting up on Metro and immediately giving that up.
Do other sports teams disclose that kind of stuff? Yeah, in traditional sports, their contracts are generally discussed. And I think they're public. But in esports, I don't think there's a single esport that has ever had salaries disclosed.
I don't know, because Kilo would be the one to play the role.
Alright, so let's get back to the game. I just wanted to go on that long tangent for people that aren't aware or don't really think about those kind of things. So let's talk about the big point of this map right here. Kilo is now on the Tracer and Proper is the Soldier. And this was like a big question mark for me of like, Proper's a better Tracer, Kilo's a better Soldier. It doesn't make sense why they're making the decision. As I said, apparently it was a coach decision that they wanted Kilo to play the Tracer. Krusty's been cooking something up in the back room of like he wanted to see it. And like, I think you can easily arguably say that this is why they lose the map. Like, they get pretty close, but I think if they had kept Proper on the Tracer and Kilo on the Soldier, they could have easily won this map. Like, they had a pretty good push. Like, not many teams finish Midtown. So, and like, Kilo's already gone down so far, and Kevster, on that Freedom, is just going absolutely sicko mode. DP was talking to Barstream, say Mayhem started construction really early. Yeah, and I think that is a big thing about the Florida Mayhem from this most recent season is, I know Goomba was signed early, and he had a lot of freedom to start talking to players. And there's a lot of players, like a lot of the players that like, you know, let's talk about someone, for example, right? I don't know how available he was to other teams, but he was a good player, and I think teams would be looking at him. And, you know, like Sir Majed, I'm sure a lot of the, like, Paris Eternal probably would have been looking at Sir Majed if he hadn't picked him up and stuff like that. Like, Goomba did a great job of putting together the roster and probably getting him all these players for a good deal. Hydron, maybe Hydron, like, Hydron could have easily been picked up by some of these other teams if maybe Goomba hadn't got in there earlier, right? So you need to give credit, but you know me, I have a lot of respect for Goomba. And every team that Goomba has touched has turned to gold, and I've worked with him personally, and that's why I like, you know, I feel comfortable talking about him. Goomba's done great with every coach, every team he's ever touched. So, and I think he deserves that respect because he's done it once again with this Florida Mayhem team. Who do you think is better, Shock or Fuel? We'll find out. It's hard to say right now. It's hard to say. I would pred Dallas if I was if they played this weekend. I would pred Dallas over the San Francisco Shock, just because I think the Zaya composition beats the Winston composition.
We'll see when the Gladiators want to pull the trigger.
Kilo for now, keeping the flank in check. Begging Kevster for a duel, but Kevster knows that is well within Finn's zone and would be incredibly dangerous. Looking for a stick. Everyone dodges away. Lemon, no dynamic opening this time, but Reiner has...
If switching roles was a coaching decision, and assume they scrimmed that way also, wouldn't it make sense for them to continue that in an official in terms of highest winning percentage, because that's what was practiced? So let's talk about that as well, because that's an interesting point. We're just going to go on a bunch of tangents in this one. Sorry, this is going to be a long one. This is an interesting conversation on top of that as well, because let's talk about this one. First of all, if they wanted to do that, right? Why? Like, why is Kilo a better Tracer on defense, right? On Midtown, on Tracer. You're playing 18 million D chess. If you're like, well, the way Kilo likes to play Tracer on defense is he likes to play a very flanky style. Well, Proper likes to play back when he's on the defense of Midtown, and I think that really is conducive to a better... No, you're overthinking it. You're better off keeping the synergy between Proper and Kaluge on the Tracer Winston, which we've seen is exceptional, than trying to switch that around and Kaluge having to deal with a different Tracer player, having to change these kind of things. And this has been proven time and time and time again throughout the history of the 4+ years we've been doing Overwatch League. People that have tried to put people in for stylistic differences of plays of certain maps, Houston Outlaws with flex supports, doesn't work. You are better off having consistency rather than having the minute changes and differences. We're not traditional sports. Like, you don't need to sub these players. On the idea of, if this is what you've scrimmed, should you continue to do it? I think at certain points you need to be willing to break your script and just go with what works. And my prime example of what I want to say for this one is Boston Uprising. Even if in third map against the Washington Justice this week, you just are up 2-0 against the Washington Justice, they seem to have no answer for how Punk is playing Xayah. At what point do you go, well, maybe we shouldn't sub Itzel in to play Winston? Maybe, even though Punk and they don't have a lot of experience scrimming Xayah on this map, maybe they can, because they know how to play it, they just showed in 2 maps they know how to play it, and Washington doesn't know how to play it. Maybe the Xayah will work. Keeping that consistency and running with what is working, keeping up your momentum, is a big thing. That is what I personally believe. And we've seen teams do it in the past. I remember we did it in 2019, like Valiant, certain times, 2018 Valiant. Sometimes you're playing against a team that you think is, who did we do it against? It was the Hangzhou Spark in, no, it was the Vancouver Titans. In 2019, when the Los Angeles Valiant, when we beat the Vancouver Titans to break their streak record, we actually had different strategies on the 4th and 5th map. 4th map? No, 3rd and 4th map. We actually had different strategies. But after winning the 2nd map, we said, we're going to play Sombra Goats against them on every map, even though we haven't really played much Sombra Goats on these maps, because they have not shown an ability or an understanding of how to beat Sombra Goats. And until they beat that, we're not going to change up what we're doing, because we know what we're doing works. We have the momentum. They don't seem to have an answer to it. Why would you change? Right? And like, that was my big fear about that Boston switch against the Washington Justice of, they lost Circuit Royale, right? For all we know, they could have lost all momentum at that moment. All of a sudden, the Washington Justice, they take a map, start getting some confidence, and they work it out. Fortunately, Punk and Crimzo came back in and absolutely pounded on New Queen Street. But you never know, right? And that is one of my big concerns that I have, and I'm going to talk about later in the San Francisco Shock match, of when Shock decided to sub in Sam for map 5, after what they had been doing with Proper and Kilo up to that point had been working. I get concerned about that, because as much as we look back and we're like, it's fine, they won. You know, Sam came in and they won. What if they didn't, right? Sam didn't play well in this map 5. He just didn't. He got thrown in cold. He didn't have a lot of thing. Everyone else was playing at a high level, and Sam just couldn't keep up with that in that final moment. And then, like, that would have been a really bad thing. And I think it's easy to sweep it under the rug when they win, right? The Shock won, so it's easy to be like, oh, the Kilo Proper subs don't matter. The Sam sub at map 5 doesn't matter because we won. But San Francisco Shock could have won this map, and it would have been 1-1, and maybe it doesn't have to go to map 5. In map 5, if it hadn't worked, they would have lost the series, and that would have been the only thing everyone would have talked about if Shock had lost. Not the performance, not the play. That one thing. And it's just, we saw this happen to the San Francisco Shock last year, where it felt like they were overthinking certain things, and that they were making too many subs, making too many weird decisions in the final moments when they had like a successful formula. So obviously Krusty's a 2-time coaching champion. He knows better than I do. But this is my experience, and from my perspective, I just worry that these things are going to come back to bite them in the ass. That's what everyone talked about when they put Shock in on Salmon and King's Row and they lost that map. Exactly, right? That's a great example of like when they subbed him in and it didn't work because he was coming in fresh and like all of a sudden they lost a map to MYXL when you think that should have been, it's unfathomable, right? Like with how well the Shock have been playing. So don't forget 9K. Yeah, like they have Kasaurus, they have 9K, they have a lot of great coaches and they have great people. So I'm not just putting it on the one coach, but yeah, that's just my 2 cents. That's my little tidbit. So we can get back to the game.
San Francisco Shock gonna have to back off here for a second as they figure out how to make the next engagement. It's Kaluch jumping in proper with an Nanovisor.
Proper's in the backline with a gun. Oh, you're toast.
Tangent over, back to the frags. And Proper. And like, as I said, Proper's not a bad soldier. No one's ever saying that.
And shoot, I mean, he had Nano first. I wonder why he's so shy about using it.
Did Proper play Genji? Oh, yeah, he played it in the first weekend. Proper is a very good Genji. Proper can literally play everything. I would say his... I don't know how good his like Widow is and his like hard hit scan is. I think it's good, but I don't know if it would hold up to Kilo and Arns and stuff like that. It's kind of like a Prophet thing of like, Prophet can play hit scan, but you wouldn't want him going head to head with like, Arns and stuff like that, right? Good peel. Dude, Nanovisor is so stupid. Literally, we just saw both teams just Nanovisor and just into the opposition holding left click. Look at that skill.
Reiner denied his ace. Oh, big BM from the big tank man. Padapan slightly bullied by his own team here, and San Francisco Shock will get themselves a quick contest, but they won't last here.
Yeah, this is another one where it's like Shock, like, I have this problem with, like, Shock does this as well. Like, I don't feel like they need to contest here, right? Like, wouldn't you be better off setting up for, like, an early fight in here than trying to contest this? Because they don't even get an ultimate out. Because we saw, Gladiators did the same thing. They at least force beat, but, like, they literally get wiped for what feels like no reason. And then all of a sudden, the reset happens, and then they get a much later fight than what they could have if they had just given up the point. So that was another weird decision I remember the Shock doing.
Custa, where will you be putting this Pulsar at the moment? It seems like Finn has been
proper hard diffed Merit and Kill on hit scan and contenders, yeah. So, and that's it, right? Like, we haven't seen it from Proper thus far, and maybe we'll see it at some point, but moral of the story, Proper should just never be benched. Proper is... I don't think you can just disagree with it at this point. Proper is the best, like one of the best DPS players in the world. Like, he's shown it on so many different heroes. Yes, it's very early on the season to say that, but he's done it in contenders. He's shown he can do it in the league. They're currently 5-0. He's done it against the Gladiators when he has the flu. Like, unless he just got lucky and out for the last 5 games, I think he's going to be great. Shu is very aggressive there.
Whether it's Proper or Kilo playing with Soldier 76 Lemon, the ethos of that San Francisco.
All roles looked even behind Kill and Pat. I can agree to that, actually. I think that's a really good way to summarize this. I actually think... Yeah, and like, I don't want to be too harsh on Patty Fan because we know he's been struggling, but like, you just got to call it how it is. I agree with that. I think the only major difference in gameplay was Patty Fan. Like, I think Proper Kilo were much more solid than Kev's the Patty Fan. And I think Kev's had a great game. So like, this is something that is going to be interesting to see if Gladiator is going to change in the future. Because like I said, I want to see Patty Fan get some reps against bad teams. Like, I think he needs confidence and he needs reps and he needs experience. Maybe doing that against the San Francisco Shock isn't going to help, but yeah. Thought it was Patty Pan. No, I believe it's Fan. It's a very Thai way of saying it, but I've been told that it's Patty Fan. But honestly, I get told 20 different things of how to describe anyone's name that has any form of like complexity to it, so. Would Arns be better here? Maybe. Like, it's hard to know. We've seen a bits of Arns Soldier. My biggest problem with... It feels like Patty Fan got caught here, like, doing this a lot, where it feels like when he's popping the visor, he's never in position. He like pops it and then has to run into the thing. And for that reason, that felt like that's why it felt like he got slept a lot, because it feels like when he's popping the visor, he's running straight at Finn and he's just kind of hoping he dodges it or Finn misses, right? Played all games and it looks solid. Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah, Arns did play. But like he was also playing as much weaker teams, so it is interesting that we saw Paddy Fan play exclusively Soldier in this tournament. Space just calls him Paddy. Yeah, but you know, we're not allowed to, you know, as a desk broadcaster, we should call people by their full names and correctly stated, right? Brutal C9. This was a 4 C9 by Reiner. Actually, Kaluj just couldn't make it. Like, so he forced everyone out of the right. So he pushed everyone out so Violet couldn't get there. Kilo almost made it and Kaluj just misses the touch. I could absolutely see them getting it. Proper's about to get full health and the wait, did they just nano as well? Finn's about, they're actually about to get nano visors. So Shock could probably hold this if they got their ultimates out. If they actually managed to get to the point they got their ultimates out, Shock could have held. But Gladiators get the win, 2-0. DPA said Arns is definitely, yeah, and I would absolutely believe that Arns is a better aimer, and not as intelligent. Soldier feels like a lot less of a Soldier's a lot more of a game sense hero than an aim hero. Obviously, you need some level of aim, but understanding where you need to be and like getting into position feels like to be a lot more valuable.
For these teams have just been enjoying what good traits.
Why are you saying Soldier players are stupid? Posted to Reddit. Heard it here first. Custa says Arns is too stupid to play Soldier.
He's not very resource intensive. Lemon doesn't require much taking care of, and that means a huge amount of resources can be pumped into Padapan.
Alright, going on the third map. Gladiators are up 2-0. There's no way the Gladiators throw this away, right? There's no way. Not a chance.
Sometimes Route 66, I usually see it more on Gibraltar, a Circuit Royale, so Violet brings it out every once in a while. Proper, not happy with the chances of getting a
Proper goes Farrah, accidentally. So Kilo plays the Ashe. We haven't seen a lot of Ashe be played in the West. It has some good moments in the East, but it feels like if they have a really good dive, it doesn't get much value. Oh, good. That shot was actually so sick. Put Reiner in such a bad spot. Oh, good nade by Finn. Dude, Finn actually saves so many people's lives. Custa's too smart for Lucia. Arns too stupid for Soldier. Shu dies in the front line again. How does Shu keep ending up in the front line? I guess he had the proper in his back line, so he tried to run forward and he just got caught, but... Do you think Finn could be a top 3 Ana? I think he's been the best Ana so far this year.
Yeah, it's good that the Gladiators at least took that fight that early to guarantee themselves a second one. Funny, Asher and Shu trying to get in line of sight of Reiner to help him on this engage. It does expose them to someone like Kilo. Kilo's hanging around.
How does he get this? What is that?
From a bio grenade from Finn at long range. Now the
oh, nice stick by Kevster. Kevster pretty good at the video game. Oh, nanovisor, baby. Anyone watching the game should agree with that. Finn Finn is by far been the, I think, probably the best player. I think you can easily make him Rookie of the Year and MVP right now so far. I think he's had the most consistent and dominant performances. You can make an argument for it to be proper. You can try and bring up Zest if you want to just take a really small sample size, but I don't think there have been many other players who could compete with that. I think Lip had a pretty good performance this weekend, but I think Shanghai Dragons in general were shaky, so I feel like it kind of diminishes that. Hanbin? Ooh, Hanbin is a good shout for MVP. You know, that is a good point. I didn't even... Yeah, I think you can make an argument for Hanbin on MVP as well. Proper diff. But Alpha Yi Rookie of the Year? I don't think Alpha Yi has had as good a performance as these other people we're talking about. He's been good, don't get me wrong, and he's been impressing. But in any other year, I think Alpha Yi would be a good shout for Rookie of the Year. But we've had some bonkers rookies come in so far.
Reiner was primal raging Finn as Finn shot asleep, and it meant that Finn missed Reiner because they got hit midway through a sleep.
Rookies are taking over. Younger generation, man. Out with the old, in with the new. I, for one, welcome my new Zoomer overlords. Oh, not a great pulse bomb. And I feel like that's why, like, so far this series, you know how I said coming into it, I'm like, Kevster's pulse bombs weren't very good, he needs to work on them. I feel like I just forgot about how great some of his pulse bombs were, because he's had a couple of bangers, but he's definitely had a couple of misses as well. Like, had some pretty bad misses, so, bit of both.
And meanwhile, this has been enough of a distraction for Kilo to be picking.
Ooh, Kilo.
Somewhere on the right side on an off angle, Dynamite will force Patafin to drop down the stairs. Proper is on the hunt, finishes off him, and the shock has so much momentum, and Reiner can't escape.
Kilo's Ash is so good, yeah.
So let's talk about the whys of the Ash right now that Kilo's born out, because it's not the most common pick here, and one of the whys is that you have the...
But Apex, yeah, they've only played like 2 or 3 games in the APAC region, so...
And that means that there's a 2-filter...
It's definitely, like, remember, when we're talking about these MVP and Rookie of the Year conversations, we're just doing it for entertainment. Like, no one actually, like, we're fucking 3 weeks in, okay? If you're upset about it, it's okay. Time will tell. Oh, wow, that was nice on a proper. Oh, that was really nice by Patty, actually. Patty's actually been really good with these nanos when he's got them. Outside of that. Happy birthday, Crystals.
And the other thing about Kilo playing the Ash is that you can get those one-shot headshots onto Kevster. Of course, the limited health ball of a trace, only 150 Lemon, means that if you're scoped in with the Viper, the big old rifle that Ash has...
Best Genjo so far overall? Who's played the best Genji so far this year? Who are you looked good when he played for the Dragons? Sam, like I feel like we had some early like we only really saw it in the early weekends, and like it felt like, you know, like Nero had a great performance, but he was just like bullying on some weaker teams. And kind of same with Sam. It's kind of hard. We just haven't seen enough. That's like such a niche pick so far. And the shot gets the cap. That's a pretty clean play with the nano in the rally. Not Sparkle for sure. Yeah, Sparkle has been the most underwhelming Genji, obviously because we hold him to such a high standard. But yeah, Sparkle really struggled to get the Genji going this year.
And this is where Padapan and Shu can make good use of that high ground on top of the old very freedom truck that's provided. And Violet here actually can do a much better job than the Lucio of supporting their Tracer midway through the door with armor packs.
Ryder wish she got any support. The Nana was rather given to Kevster, hoping to get maybe more value out of the...
Custa, convince me Genji will win this tournament. Genji's not going to win you this tournament. Good primal.
Alright, so Kevster here on the Genji is an interesting choice. You can get a...
Backbone got so much flack because of Super. Yeah, it's whatever.
I'm not sure if this is the correct choice to make, Lemon.
Backbone may. Think of the good sides. Dude, the presence of mind to not throw the pulse bomb and to just try and kill him. Like, think about this. Look at how good this is. Look at how good this is. He shoots the clip at 3 different moments, makes 2 great blinks, and gets 1 or 2 melees in, and decides not to pulse bomb because he knows the dive is coming in with Kalush. Watch this again. You know how hard that is to do? Like, think about, like, if you tried to do that. I would have blinked, forgot where the soldier was, like, done a 180, hit, like, 3 of my 20 bullets, blinked in the wrong direction, missed the melee, and then missed the rest of the 20 bullets, and done a total of, like, 40 damage. Like, it's so easy to, like, disregard how difficult what he just did is. Oh, how does Funny Astro even kill him, actually? Is he? I remember seeing this live. He has 121 health. Did he just get, like, triple dinked? by Funny Astro. That was crazy play by Funny Astro. Because there's no one else giving an assist, so. Like, that, literally that kill by Funny Astro saved them this point. Like, 100%. If Proper's able to live there, he probably kills Shu, and they probably just easy clean. Even if he doesn't kill Shu, they probably just clean up that fight. Astro still has it. Yeah, Astro's Lucio has been really good this year. I've liked it. It's honestly been one of my favorite Lucios to watch so far. Because I think he's been getting a lot of impact, but hasn't been feeding. I feel like there's been some Lucios that have had, like, crazy impact, but they've done, like, a bit of trolling and a bit of feeding. But I think Funny Astro's been really solid. Oh, this is, yeah. This is, if Liz was going to get mad about everyone being in a small room, this was the moment to get mad about. I don't know what the San Francisco Shock were all doing in that small room. But, yeah, that didn't work.
As well. That means it's still in the bag for Reiner, and think about how long Reiner can stay in the middle of San Francisco Shock now. If you make an engagement with that nano, you take 50% less damage, and then on top of that,
and they were. They didn't. They'll do it again. Oh, that one. Oh, dude, I remember watching that live. I thought Prop was gonna kill himself. Reiner, diff. APAC feels like they have no toilet bowl, yeah. It'll be interesting to see if it ends up being Guangzhou Valiant. Those are the two teams I think it's most likely to be. But I like, Valiant actually look pretty good. Like, they look like they have some upside. Maybe there are some metas that Valiant might be bad, but they look okay. In no-heal, I believe in no-heal supremacy. Dude, I thought Kilo might win this fight for them. I thought the weirdo swap was about to be sick. But it wasn't. You see other matches too? Yeah, I'm going to be reviewing a bunch. I've already reviewed Hangzhou versus Shanghai early in the day. They'll be up on my YouTube later. I'll probably upload Hangzhou Shanghai tonight along with my weekly recap. Or maybe I'll put Shanghai Shock tomorrow morning at like 9 AM and then do this match at noon. I don't know. I don't know how to spread out my content. Too much content, too little time. I feel like off-tank experience translate weirdly well into Winston. I feel like the biggest problem about that is just the Winston mechanics. You know, like Winston mechanics are. I feel like it's not as much about understanding of what you're supposed to do. It's just the mechanics to be able to do it.
When I have a look at this hand of cards, I think it's all ones and twos.
Yeah, I don't think either of these teams have played Route 66 yet.
Maybe earlier APAC. Yeah, I think I've got it worked out what I want to do. So small things when it comes to Winston. Yeah, like this Primal is a great example. Like it's so easy, and we've seen so many other players do it where it's like it's so easy to just like miss the juggle, right? Or like miss a hit and then all of a sudden they get away.
Primal mechanics, love to see it. LA Gladiators, if they could 3-0 this, I think that would repair Reiner's.
LA have this right. There's no way. Yeah, Gladiators have got this. They held the Shock. They just got to finish the map. Gladiators will close this out 3-0 easy.
And at that point, we have to ask, like, was it a little bit of a fluke from the Gladiators that they got reverse swept by Dallas when they started off 2-0 upwards? However, this is not over yet.
Add Morbius. Is there a Morbius emote? Morbius BTTV.
Sorry, Glads fans, if it comes to happen.
Yeah, that was still a pretty good push from the Shock just to get even close to the end. Just means we won't be going.
Is it an FFZ emote?
Gladiators, they can get to that point, the finish line at the end.
7TV. I don't actually have 7TV. I should really use 7TV. I think I use FFZ, right?
And I don't think anyone could have predicted a 3-0. No one has that level of confidence, but Gladiators.
All right. Remind me tomorrow.
High ground, big girls owned by the Shock.
Remind me tomorrow, and I'll upload. We'll get a 7TV account. And we'll get all the emotes in. Too many emote things. They gotta coordinate them. Kaluge making diffs.
And as the dust settles, Gladiators are heading for the hills after losing Shu.
This gives a little bit more time to focus of these comps.
7TV is all the rage, man. I'm so out of the loop.
For Finn, especially when Reiner's diving from that whip shot we mentioned before, and of course the Inspire uptime, but also it allows for Proper to get a lot more direct healing through those armor packs, which can sustain healing on Proper when they're out.
Would you say Shock's DPS line is greater than Dallas? Yeah. I think the DPS line of Dallas is potentially their weakest part, and obviously I'm comparing them to like the greatest, but. And they are still very good, but Doha, Edison, Sparkle, I think has a lot to be desired in comparison to like a proper Kilo Sam or a, you know, Profits or a Fleta Lip. Who are you? Another huge name, it's just Finn diffs.
Yeah, it means that Funny Astro kind of becomes a big target, and while Funny Astro is busy being harassed.
Gurio, big sad. Yeah, Gurio was okay. Ooh, good stick by Kevster. Dude, Kevster is trying to drag these Gladiators team to a win.
Kilo sends Bob on the cart to contest. The Gladiators are on the right side. They have Nano Panafin, but he doesn't want to be in hug distance from Kalush. Do you understand the social distance regulations happening right now? And the rally's been invested from the Shock. And Reiner's against the wall. He can contest with a Primal Rage and decide.
Dude, the Shock. Yeah, that bob was actually so clutch by Kilo. It actually did like a surprising amount of work for where it was. Because it's just shooting them in the butt. Pat running away the nano. Did they nano too early again? So like, let's look at this back, right? So the bob goes down and it's shooting Shu in the ass, right? And that creates like a big diff. Like, why? Patty, I think Patty just gets way too overzealous here. He gets nanoed, like, and this sort of goes back to what I was saying earlier, where it feels like Patty gets the nano and he just feels like he's indestructible. And he keeps, like, putting himself in, like, isolating himself. So, Patty just gets bullied now. Hey, Bo. Chat says hi. No birdering, no win.
At least Funny Astro's coming up upon the sound barrier, and the sound barrier can be used a little bit more laissez-fairly now that there's no major stimulus that needs to be answered, Lemon. But speaking of major stimuli, LA Gladiators missed out on their chance there to use the Nano Visor. That's one of their major win cons and one of the main ways that this composition.
Oh, you're in the way. I'm watching that. Reiner gets Kilo. How does Reiner kill Kilo? Kev's the Reiner dive. Clean. Who has Primal? This needs to be sick. Good beat by Funny Astro. Oh, that was really well played by the Gladiators. That beat timing by Funny Astro was so good. It was like the perfect time in which Kaluj was still willing to commit the Primal, but then as soon as he committed the Primal, he couldn't do anything with it. Hey, buddy. Kev's the Reiner dive is the best part of the team. It's funny because the strengths of the Gladiators are very similar to the strengths of the Shock. Like, I think the Kaluj proper dive with, like, honestly, like, the trio of, like, Finn Kaluj proper is, like, very similar to the trio of Reiner, Shu, Kevster. Like, they're just so dominant, and that's what makes their dive so good. Like, they have the healing to be able to sustain it on the back of their great flex supports, but then the dives are also just sick in their own rights. I think the Glads rely too much on Kev. I agree. Like, I don't believe that's a hot take. And, like, that was a big question for the Gladiators heading into this season was, we know Kevster's going to be great. We know Shu's going to be great. The big thing is, like, their other DPS need to be the ones that step up. And I think Arms has stepped up when he's needed to, and he's played well. I think, you know, the sad reality is I think Patty Fan is the big lacking part right now, and I'm hoping to see better performances from him. And I'm hoping, as I said, I just want to see him get some better performances against weaker teams, and hopefully get some confidence, because we know he's a great player and we know he's mechanically gifted. He just doesn't look and feel as comfortable as, you know, his counterparts, right? Like as Proper and Kilo and Kevster. Thank you very much for money. He's improving before our eyes, and he has been improving. He's been playing better than he has. Like, I think getting him off the Genji has been a good look. I think the Genji is just very difficult. So, and his soldiers had good moments. It's just like, he's had those moments where he over-aggresses, just like in that Nano before. Wegwai, I think for the 100 bits, how good do you think an American Tornado team would be if it was in the league? I feel like all the players have been doing so well. It's hard to really know. I think if you put the best ever iteration of the 5 players of American Tornado, they'd be good. Like, you have the backline of Atlanta Reign with, like, a Reiner or a Kaluja's tank. And then you, like, I think their biggest struggle would be in their DPS line. Like, I think Hydron and Sam are good, but I don't know if they would stand as well. I think they'd be good. I would put them around the same tier as, like, Atlanta Reign. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think they would be as good as, like, your Dallas Fuels or your Shocks or your Gladiators, but I think they would be very, very solid. Speedily, though? Yeah, you had Speedily. Like, maybe if you have Speedily Sam Hydron, it would kind of bang. It probably would bang, actually, yeah. You're right. It would probably be a really good team. Funny Astro's just pushing the cart, and he gets it.
Who was so low, and Shu identified that Kevster was going to be in that space so low, so throws in a nade. I think it was hoping to heal Kevster, and unfortunately Proper just blinks into it in the meantime. And
Speedily and Sam play the exact same heroes though? Yeah, but you would have them play like Tracer, Echo, and stuff like that.
And it feels like San Francisco Shock are giving it their all as Funny Astro gives it the sound back.
Funny Astro?
And that could have been what actually stopped
you good?
It was a bloody messy fight.
Oh, Shu got purpled. I think that might have been a little too itchy with the finger there from Funny Astro. I don't even think Shu got the beat. Yeah, he beated for Shu, and Shu didn't even get the beat. So not a great beat by Funny Astro. Ajax? Nah, that's not what an Ajax is. No way Gladiators toss this. Yeah, no way. So they primaled and beated for a lost fight, right? Blue Jay, 4 months, Sadiators. Oh, that was such a sick play by Kevster. Just seeing him close that distance. Like, this actually should be so free. They literally just need to isolate a target. Like, they have positioning, they have the cart. Proper's going too early, and this sleep. And this, as I said, this is the biggest struggle that I think Patty had, is that he gets, if you're gonna commit the Nano Visor, you can't sleep. Like, you can't have that happen multiple times in a series, because that's literally just a team fight lost out the window. Like, if that visor had gone off, Proper dies, like, they probably force the backline, San Francisco Shock gets forced back into spawn, and then they probably just never get back onto the cart.
To do something. And think about Violet here with this rally as well. One of the main advantages of rally at the moment is that because it provides
Fittin literally won the game with that sleep. Yeah, and that's why people are considering them and him their MVP and their Rookie of the Year, because he's done that multiple times already throughout this season. Oh my god, that was so close to being absolutely enormous. That like 3 people like Neo dodged that. Kevster, this Bob by Kilo kills Kevster. So many things just slipped by the wayside for the Gladiators. It's the sad thing about this game. Gladiators almost had it so many times, yeah. Woo. Alright. On to New Queen Street. Bob is so much better over 2. Yeah, because it's just less shields. There's less protection for those heroes and stuff like that, right? Surely if you win MVP as a rookie, you need to win Rookie of the Year by definition. It'll be interesting. I personally believe if you win MVP, you should be omitted from the Rookie of the Year contention. So therefore, someone doesn't get both in one season. I don't think that's, like, I just think it's cool to diversify them. Some people, I'm sure, would argue that it's cool for someone to get both and they deserve both. It's up to the league to decide, right? Who won Rookie of the Year in 2018? Nobody. I don't think it was an award. Obviously, it wasn't an award in 2018. Like, I feel like it's way cooler to recognize 2 different people than to just recognize one person's excellence because they did it in their Rookie of the Year, right? Yeah, like MVP is a much better reward than Rookie of the Year, right? Obviously both are great, but I feel like if you get MVP, you shouldn't take Rookie of the Year away from someone else. Reiner gets purpled. Oh, good rocket. That was a rocket and a nade by Shu on the Kilo. Gladiators won the first fight. They have to win the map then, right? They have to. Stop it.
I'm inclined to think that he's right. Gladiators instead just want to get as much as possible without exposing themselves into a
Gladiators
position for Finn, as both of the
dude, they were so close.
nano boost in hand, and Timothy started to get a shuffle on as Kaluj exacts his influence.
Like these are the ones. Like yeah, Kev's has had some great pulse ones, but he definitely. I would love to see what his attach rate was for this series. Nanovisor. They beated it, so it can't really do much, and he got purpled. So Kilo has no respect.
So many win conditions there. Lemon had to be exchanged and countered by each other, and in the end, it came down to Violet having the.
I feel like Kev says pulse on cooldown sometimes. Well, you can get it you get pulse bomb so fast if you're doing consistent damage, especially if you're just shooting a tank.
And claim a huge amount of space against the Nanovisor and hit that anti.
Oh my god. Finn, stop it.
Reiner slept, shock. Didn't want to begin their approach yet.
The cool thing about watching this match, like you can see the cycles of the ultimates, of the positioning, of the movement, right? It's actually so cool. And this is like the thing that I like, you know, some people are like, oh, I don't like watching Overwatch 2 compared to watching Overwatch 1. Like, I feel like most teams just haven't worked out how to play it yet. And that's the big difference. Like, you watch good Overwatch 2, it's actually so much better. Like, this match was actually so sick. Like, there's so much cool stuff happening all the time. And, like, I think when the spectating improves, just because, like, obviously they're new to spectating, it's a new game. When the spectating improves, when people get more comfortable, when the strategies start getting fleshed out, when people start understanding how to play it, it's going to be so much more fun. Reiner gets Kilo. This is actually a really cool team fight win by the Gladiators. They just like stalled it out and held with their closest spawns. That's true. I think that's a great point, Ralph, as well. Like, a big thing that I didn't say is that the fans need to understand what they're watching right now. Right now, if everyone's like, oh, it's just chaos, it's because we don't really understand the chaos. But as time goes on, viewers will begin to slowly understand it more as well, right? Another, yeah. Kilo gets Funny Astro. How does Funny Astro die there? Is there a way we can see this? Where's Funny Astro? I don't know where Funny Astro dies, but that's a bad death by Funny Astro. If he's alive, this visor doesn't get anywhere near. Like, if Funny Astro can beat there, they probably win this fight. So that was a rare int by your boy Funny Astro. He needs to stay alive if he has that beat.
No capacity there to use for Nanovisor somehow. Nano was sent astray. I'm not entirely sure.
He's probably trying to. I don't think he was trying to hide. I think he was going aggressive. Because I think if he died to kill, I think he got too high. I think he got onto the high ground, and I think he got. It's just hard to tell, right, from this perspective. Oh, good nano. I did not think he was going to hit that nano. Good beat to counter it. Wait, is that another beat by Funny Astro that hits Shu? Oh no, it saves Shu's life. Nice. Good play. It's a great beat by Funny Astro. Shu goes down still. Later beat by Violet also drops the flex support. Yeet. Yoink. Paddy's won. Yeah, Kaluj is doing work here, right? Like, Gladiators are so close to winning this fight as well. Like, Gladiators, dude, they are so close to winning this map. Big ult by Reiner. Trades the primals for Kaluj.
find a second primal there was so smart. Jumps behind your monkey, nothing.
They got the Paddy visor. This should be a good... See, I don't think he needs to do this. Like, I don't think this... We've seen a lot of teams doing this and a lot of players doing this. And I don't think you need to do this. Like, yes, it works against weaker teams and when, like, there's flanks. But when you're playing against a Winston, Tracer, Soldier, like, I feel like he's just going to get punished more often than he's going to get value. And if he is going to do this, you can't just do this, right? Like, you cannot be the first person to engage if you're going to do the flank visor. Because what do you think they're going to do? Of course they're all going to turn you. They have sleep, they have speed, they have Winston jump, they have Winston bubble. They have literally everything to stop this from working. Reiner's not in yet. Like, their fight's not even starting. How is he? Was he just expecting everyone to just fall over? Like, even if he didn't get slept there, like, there's Reiner, right? Eventually, right? Even if he didn't get slept there, he was probably gonna die. Like, the Soldier, Ana, and the Lucio are gonna kill him before he kills them. That screams desperation. Like a desperation play more than, like, a necessary play. It's a good play if he's not first. Yeah, like, if Reiner had gone deep and, like, he had bought him a ton of space, like, the Ana uses the sleep, the Winston tries to counter dive in, and then, like, all of a sudden he just appears behind them, he's got value, right? But I feel like that was just a consistent theme throughout this series.
And you know that Timmy loves to push that barricade. Kaluj is so low, and now it may be down to a Tracers to continue battling on top of this bot.
Is the Winston right click project hit scan? Yeah, it is hit scan.
So neither team really wanted to dive at that moment, but Kilo's on the low ground with the tactical visor. The Gladiators hide behind the sign. They have the high ground, and Shu is close to Nano, but Proper gets the chase down. And stackers continue, and the Shock's lead has been taken and is growing to 50+.
And this gets harder and harder. The further that this barricade goes, Lemon, the further that Timmy has to be moved to even start.
You guys ready for it?
Pushing the opposing barricade. Forward spawns could be gained, and you can see at the moment San Francisco Shock don't want to risk.
Oh, actually, it's not here.
All 5 members on top of the bot.
It's not here yet.
It moves faster when you've got more people on it. Proper looking for a pulse round the back. Shu's been seen.
Oh, that's a massive.
Good. Like, you can't discredit the San Francisco Shock here. They put a lot of pressure onto the Gladiators that ends up making them fumble. And a lot of it is on the back of great Finn's great plays. Like, that's a biotic grenade that wins in the fight. He plays aggressive, gets that aggressive biotic nade. They go in with the nade, get a ton of value. And there it is. Shu Nano's Funny Astro in spawn. The worst boostio you've ever seen. And my vindication that it happens to everybody. Even some of the greatest support players in the world like Shu. Fat finger. Okay? Just because it happened to me when I was in the middle of the camera in the middle of Route 66 and Mitch had to call me out on it, it is just as equal.
At least use a sound barrier to make this work.
Did Shu Nano Funny Astro by
Dude, and think about it. This was their comeback. That was their comeback mechanic. They were probably going to lose anyway, right? Like, at this point, they're in trouble. Gladiators are in a lot of trouble anyway. But yeah. I like this play by Shock, understanding, like, you don't want to take a fight here. This is not an advantageous fight. They're better off taking a fight around here, right? Because then they get another fight here, and then they'll get another fight on the checkpoint, right? So the way that the San Francisco Shock are disengaging, there's 30 seconds left, so you're only really getting one good fight in. The Shock know you gain nothing by taking this fight. Yes, you may gain one more fight, but, like, no, you're not even really, right? You're better off taking a fight where they have to come into you. All of a sudden, we have proper setup for the flank. They have the angles, everyone's positioned, and they're set up exactly how they want to take this fight. And that's the advantage that the Shock get by disengaging here, right? So all of a sudden, they get the beat out for almost free at the beginning of the fight because of a great dive by Kaluj. And then all of a sudden, they have beat, they have primal. Violet gets a great beat to save Kilo. Proper goes in through the backline, and they just, as you said, they have the ults. They don't need to do anything special. They just need to put themselves in an advantageous spot. And something that I think a lot of lower end teams have been doing is they just force fights over and over and over again. It feels like they're never winning a meaningful fight. Especially when you have the advantage of the checkpoint, there's so many things that you can do to give yourself that advantage.
You spoke it into existence. Get your brooms ready. We're going to game 5.
Game 5, baby.
Haven't made an enemy of every single LA Gladiators fan, but San Francisco Shock, they have unlocked the secret.
Where is it?
Back going to need because Timmy would
Damn, I thought they showed the replay.
until they were moved back. So they picked a theater of war.
I think they did in the...
So it could be a by is known for at least
I thought they showed it.
Again,
but 5 kilo
for best play. Yep. However, in once more reverse swept by a team that they had
Post-match? Alright. We'll have a look at it in post-match.
and San Francisco Shock.
Oh yeah, it was my best of the day. That is true.
They're plugged into the matrix.
Well, they showed it in the match. Alright, so we're going to have in. So let me talk about the Sam sub again. Okay? I don't like this sub. On the back of, even though they've probably played with Sam, I feel like Killer's been having a great match. You know what the Gladiators are going to come out with, right? You know that they're going to play Patty Fan. They're going to play Reiner. They're going to play Winston Soldier. So I feel like Shock would have been much safer playing what they're already been winning at with the Tracer Soldier Winston. And I feel like they graded it. Obviously, it's been close. So you can make arguments for or against. But they're also playing the Moira. The reason I don't like this Sam substitution is throwing a player in cold when they haven't played any maps in the entire series. They are coming in cold. They're going to be nervous because it's just human nature to be nervous when you're coming in at the highest end of the competitive match. And it's just very difficult to sort of get focused. And it's not like you have you have 20 minutes to get comfortable. We're playing control. This can end in 10 minutes and it's over before it even begins. So they get away with it in this match, but like Sam doesn't have a good map. And I think that's important to note as well, right? Like they get away with it and they win, but you can tell Sam struggles. And I think Sam actually tweeted it himself. He's like, I didn't play well in this last map. That was hard coming in cold. And you know, it'll be interesting to see if this is something they learn from or how it happens, right? Like, look at him. He's just so out of sync with Kalush. Proper's not in positioning. Kalush isn't going in. Sam's dead before the fight even starts. Yeah, Sam did have... He has a good blade. He has one good blade and he has one good echo. Like, he has a couple of good moments, but that doesn't make up for... Like, he dies first, like, a lot, right? Do teams warm up scrims before match? I've heard our pros make... Yeah, like, so you do a warm-up scrim, right? Like, let's say you do a warm-up scrim and Sam was in for the... You know, let's say they practice Lijiang and he was in for that practice scrim. That would probably have been, because you need to prepare for when the match is going to happen, that probably would have been 2 hours before when Sam actually got to play the match. Because remember, this match has been going for an hour and a half at least. Your scrim wouldn't have started, your scrim would have ended probably half an hour to an hour before the match actually starts. So it's like 2 hours ago is when Sam warmed up, theoretically. He probably warmed up on his own PC while the match was happening and stuff like that, but yeah, like that is the problem with coming in at map 5. Is warming up in practice range? Yeah, but like obviously it's just not the same thing.
I pointed that out in the pre-match about Gladiators. They talk the talk, but they gotta walk the walk.
I mean, Krusty just likes doing this historically, the super finisher's thing, because Krusty believes in it. And yeah. But, you know, I think there's a lot of things that Krusty has done in the past that have been good because of how talented their roster is. But I think there's a lot of talented rosters that are coming up that are making it more difficult. And I think last year was a prime example of that. Of like, his roster wasn't as flawless and his subs weren't as perfect. And it cost them a lot of things, right?
Because of course, that's one of the things you have to be really careful about when you are a Moira. You can't fade while you're in coalescence, so you become a lot more.
So that's just my concerns with it.
Mobility and positioning. Padapan here, not going to be set up for a nano visor, but a regular one might do just fine if someone falls low enough.
Oh, gets woken up. Beat was good though by Funny Astro.
Going to be which can really increase its efficacy. There won't be a damage boost, there won't be a nano, no supercharger or anything like that. However, you are going to be dealt with.
Alright, so we got the blade coming soon. Oh my god, that was so close. Yeah, that was big.
At least Finn gets the fade away, but Sam and Violet dead
And I think this is what I don't like about the Moira, is it feels like instead of diving, you're kind of like death balling. It kind of feels like they're trying to play zombie comp. I actually, maybe if they were going to play the Moira, I would actually like the Reaper more, especially if you know they're going to play the Soldier Winston. I feel like if they just played Tracer, Reaper, Monkey, Lucio, Moira, I would like that a lot more. Because then you can just fucking run at people and you don't have to worry about anyone. I feel like Genji requires too many resources. And he doesn't really synergize well. They do play Reaper Echo, yeah. This is the blade that Sam does really well, if I remember correctly. Oh, never mind. Wrong blade. Wrong blade. That was a great sleep by Shu. But yeah, Sam gets dunked. How did the Gladiators, how did the Shock lose this round? They do lose this round, right? Yeah. I'm thinking the next round. Yeah, that, you can imagine me seeing this sub and then just watching how Sam played, me just like yelling at my screen that San Francisco Shock are gonna throw it. Like Sam, like did not have a good round. Like you can't defend it in any way. I don't know how many final blows he got. It wouldn't have been many. His one blade got slept. He got killed a couple of times, right? Like, I worry about putting that pressure onto a rookie, especially with the championship roster.
When you're a more evasive character like Genji or Trace, of course it just auto aims. The Moira has
Genji was just not a good pick. Yeah, and it's about putting people in a position to succeed, right?
It didn't work out very well on Oasis.
Any Valiant reviews this week? Yes. I'll be doing a Valiant review. I'm watching Valiant vs.
Maybe it will work out.
Soul
On Gardens.
at some point.
Yeah, and Sam also just getting found on Genji every time he climbs into the backline. There's an immediate turn from the Gladiators. We'll see if there's better luck this time around. And Kaluj dead on arrival. Gladiators bubble still.
Yeah, like I don't really understand the Moira comp. Like, it feels like it's like an all-in style of you're just going for it, but I'm definitely not sold on the Moira comp.
How few threats there are to the Winston now. Ryder can go absolutely free. Doesn't have to worry about
Kaluj went in while purple, and that, like, but that's the weakness of the Moira is I feel like Moira's biggest thing is throughput, but then the Ana can just hit purples, and I think purples is such an important thing. There's another enormous nade from Shu.
The point, Shock moved to the point to try and survive, and it's looking tough, especially with these bio nades from Shu. Finn is having a tough time healing, but he's so
Violet's in trouble, yeah.
Makes a ton of space in the middle of the map.
I think this fight comp runs on winning the first ult. Yeah, I could absolutely see that. Like, I know what you mean. If you go in really aggressive in the first fight, then you get coalescence for the second fight. And then once you have the second fight, then you have ultimates for the third fight. And then, like, it snowballs into that, like, I could absolutely see it being it feels like 100-0 comp, right? Of, like, if you get that ult cycle and you just be very oppressive and make it hard for the opposition team to do anything. But it just feels, like, very difficult to get in once the opposition has ults. Pretty good beat by Funny Astro. But yeah, like, you could just, it's so, the Moira comp just runs at you. Like, they just sustain through the beat. They use their own beat and their call, and it just, it's hard to stay alive for that long. It's okay, Gladiators only have 30% more to get. There's no way they lose this.
They needed it really badly, Lemon, but it was at the cost of Lance overlaying our support ultimates just for full W of using.
But like, this does go to the thing of like, once you have control, you do control the point, right? Like, once you have that point, once you can get your ult cycle, I think this is the blade that I was talking about. This is actually a really nice Sam blade. And this is an important Sam blade as well, if I remember correctly, because like, they don't have a lot of ult resources here. Like, this was an important blade to hit, because if he doesn't, like, let's say he gets slept on that one, right? They have Visor, they had a pulse bomb as well. If Reiner gets more damage in, he gets the thing. Like, if he doesn't hit that, that was a problem. So, you know, you got to give props. That was a really clean blade. Dodge asleep, got the back line, closes out the fight. And then all of a sudden, Kalush has primal, Finn has another Cole, and it just snowballs out of control.
In those scenarios,
Paddy wasted visor. Yeah, the visor was really bad by Paddy, actually. Let's go back and look at this, because I think this is important. Oh, actually, no, it wasn't this one. Wasn't this one, sorry. Paddy used visor. That wasn't a bad visor. I think you need to use that coming in. It happens the next one. The next visor is really quite bad.
No sleep, no need to defend himself in those scenarios means that it's an easy double even for a naked blade. Proper now with a pulse bomb. Where dare you place it? Maybe onto one of these tanks, but of course Ryan has the primal rage to keep himself sustained here.
The fight of ultimates. Pulse bomb for proper. Into the back line, hits the wall. Patafan dodges. Primal rage though from Reiner as he hopes.
Kalush says no.
But it's Kalush that might best him. Reiner will still climb back on the map as Kalush deters his attention.
There's Primal and Cole. Yeah, so Shock just didn't get enough value out of this Primal and Cole. Like, their Cole came too late. It's actually quite a... Oh my god, are they going to hold this? Dude, Violet with the greedy beat. I like it. But it got them across the line.
For the Shock. Reiner needs to head back. 82% for the Gladiators now means that they only need to win one fight to not only take the round, but deny.
That was the Ajax? Oh, was that the Funny Asher Ajax?
Yes, and now the back line as Shu just has to accept the L. But backline
Oh, brutal. Dude, if he got that beat off, it would have been sick. Like, honestly, even though, like, because they got Cap, if he gets that beat off, it's good. But that's an unfortunate Ajax.
needs to head back. 82% for the Gladiators.
Like, that they needed that beat. Like, think about, like, just think about it. Like, it almost... Funny Astro maybe should have had more presence of mind that even if they lose that fight, you accept that you're going to lose that fight. If they come in with the beat next fight, the blade is all of a sudden useless.
Not only take the round, but deny the reverse sweep.
And you have a tool to get into the fight.
Step on me.
Yeah, oh, Jaws, thank you very much for raid. Did Paddy take the mini from Shu matter? Yeah, probably, right? If Shu got it, maybe he lives a little bit longer. Oh, Sam, that was a clean kill on the Kevster. And gets Shu. Clean play by Sam. He's warming up. He's beginning to believe. Yo, Dexter Caboose, thank you for the prime sub.
He jumps in. You have Shu coming back as the Moira, but the blade from Sam will cut down the chances of the Gladiators sustaining through this without Shu and Funny Astro involved. Overtime goes away.
There it is.
Will force round 3.
This Genji man.
Yo.
He's on social media say stop pretending. He's not.
There's no way they lose this, right? There's no way.
Super, but he never.
There's just no way, right? There's just no way.
Sam, and what a final few fights Sam had there in tandem with proper the hive mind connected.
Hey, Bo.
The target focus solid. No nano required.
I know, it's food time. After I... 1 second. There's one more round left. I gotta watch the Sadiators start crying. I'm sorry.
Begin to sweat. 2-2, 1-1. We were promised one heck of a series, and both of these teams coming from California have delivered. Reiner to the Doom, Sam to the Echo.
Alright, in the final moments, the Gladiators go Reaper Genji Doom.
And what's good about Echo into Doomfist is that the execute potential is so quick. Enough sticky bombs, a focusing beam, and Reiner might not even have time to react.
So they played Echo Tracer here as well. Echo Tracer Monkey. It is a very interesting comp. I don't really know how to feel about it. Like, I guess it's a good dive. Big stickies. Easy Shock first win. Probably switches to Reaper after. Yeah, because Reaper's just really good against the Gladiators comp. Like, I don't actually like the Shocks comp that much. As I said, I think I would rather see Tracer Reaper if you're going to play this, rather than the Echo. Like, I don't love the Echo. Maybe for the execution on the certain heroes, but... Oh, Sam goes down to Reiner. That was crazy. Damn, Finn was very close to getting that cancelled. He probably should have got cancelled. I think Reiner thought he was going to dodge. Then Finn just decided to stand still. Dude, how is Reiner still alive? Dude, how is Reiner still alive? That's actually crazy that Reiner lived to tell the tale. Like, that's actually insane that Reiner lived to tell the tale. He should have died. He didn't die and then killed Violet? I don't like the shoe swap. Yeah, I think they should have stuck to what they were good at. I don't like the Moira switch either. Maybe he was just struggling to stay alive, but... Watch him APAC. I already watched him APAC. Get out of here. I'm watching primarily APAC throughout the week, but this is a match that just has to be watched. Paddy Fan goes, like, once again, okay. Once again, I'm going to slam Paddy Fan for this because it goes back to the exact same point, and I feel like Paddy is just getting overzealous, right? He needs to wait for Reiner to go. He needs to wait for them to use cooldowns. He needs to try and force out Moira Fade. He needs to get Lucio boop out. We want to see Winston Bubble go. If you go first, everyone has everything to slow you down, right? Proper has Wraith. Monkey has Bubble. We have a Fade from Finn. And then what happens is all of a sudden, yes, you force all of those cooldowns out, but they then get away. And then what happens is the Gladiators feel like they need to overexpose themselves to commit to that. And then Paddy ends up being the first one to die, right? Like, it's the exact same thing with the Soldier in that he's just going first. And he shouldn't be the one going first ever. Trying so hard to win on his own, yeah. And that's what it feels like. It feels like he's playing desperate. He's trying too hard to win on his own that he's not trusting and relying on his teammates to be able to give him that space.
There's going to be a quintet or a quartet rather.
Yeah, and that's it. Most of Paddy's issues is nothing to do mechanic. It's literally just the way he's playing. Also, let's watch that again. Look at how sick this Reiner rollout is. Shift cancel into empowered punch, instantly punches Proper into a wall and then two taps him. That was such a sick play. Yeah, I think he needs to pull that. I'm more convinced in Reiner than Kalush. I think we've seen more flexibility from Reiner. I don't know if we've seen much else from Kalush. Thoughts on the Tank Doom? I think it has a place, and I think it has its niche, but I don't think you can one-trick it like we've seen like the Outlaws do. Ooh, Reiner just murders Sam. Yeah, like Reiner has been like the big bright spot for the Gladiators in this fight. This map, sorry. Alright, but Gladiators have got Cole, Death Blossom, right?
No Sam required in this case. They decided Finn and Violet would do it by themselves. A pair of supports who prove themselves deadly. Doubt my Moira at your own peril because now
it's okay, Bo. It's okay. You're not dying.
LA Gladiators' chances at victory. Shu's going to be able to match it. And once again, I'm looking
Alright, here we go.
to get the interrupt with the rocket punch and get rid of that Moira.
Let's see how they do this. So Sam copy, Finn Cole.
Oh, the shock. Open to reap what they sow. The coalescence to pressure the Gladiators back. The sound barrier used to counter the Death Blossom duplicate of Sam. He heads back. 99% for the shock. And they
What happened to Funny Astros beat? Alright, so it's there. So he beats the Cole. Okay, so they beat it and Cold. They're getting in. Oh, that, like, look at how good that Death Blossom is, right? And that's, like, exactly what I'm talking about of everything is broken down at that point. No one has any cooldowns. No one has any resources. And then you press Q, it's over.
Gladiators fall. It's not shields up. It's brooms up. Shock will take the game 5.
And that is a mastery of tactics and continuum of play.
Probably uses this to win, yeah. And that, like, that's the difference, right? Like, Proper, Sam goes in with the Echo ult. He knows that he's gonna go in. He recopies the Reaper, gets a great Death Blossom, forces double support ults, and then Proper saves his for the moment when it comes out burst. So it was a good match. I think Gladiators look great, and I think they are just messing up the little things, their ultimate usage for certain times, their coordination, all that kind of stuff. They were good, but I feel like they did fumble with some of their big combos. They were getting a little ambitious, and I think the Shock played it perfectly. Obviously, there's some weird subs and the stuff that I've talked about, but for the most part, I think it was a good match. I think that either of these two teams could get the win when they meet again, probably at the Kickoff Clash playoffs. So excited to see. I just want to see the Gladiators not fumble the bag. It feels like we've seen too many reverse sweeps for the Gladiators, not only this season, but in the history. I was hoping they'd sort of break that mold. Look at Funny Astro. He's so sad. Hello, darkness, my old friend. It feels bad. It feels bad. I hope you guys enjoyed the review. As I said, I got a lot more interesting reviews coming up as well, so make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see all my videos. Let me know what you guys think of the Sadiators and what you guys think of the San Francisco Shock so far this year. Much love, and I'll see you guys next time.